Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Hare Krishna. Welcome back. We are here again reading Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and my name is Labanga Latika. We are nearing the end of the chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, and Krishna is stressing to Arjuna how important this knowledge is, because depending on our knowledge, our level of understanding, our motivation, our activities, they take on different character, really. I'm reading text 38. Nahi jnanena sadrishang pavitram iha vidyate tatsvayang yoga sangsidha kalena atmani vindati. In this world there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. Purport. When we speak of transcendental knowledge, we do so in terms of spiritual understanding. As such, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Ignorance is the cause of our bondage, and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. This knowledge is the mature fruit of devotional service, and when one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he need not search for peace elsewhere, for he enjoys peace within himself. In other words, this knowledge and peace culminate in Krishna consciousness. That is the last word in the Bhagavad-gita. So Bhagavad-gita is coming at these things from different angles and stressing different aspects as we go along. But we start off with Arjuna being confused, because he's in a situation that is inevitable at this point. At this point, there's no way out of this battle. At this point, all the previous circumstances have culminated in this very problematic situation, going out on the battlefield and really not having much of a choice there. And Arjuna still decides, I don't want to do it. And then Krishna explains to him, because our understanding of right and wrong, even dharma, piety and religion, or even practically human rights, fairness, sustainability, all these things, they are very often based on they're very, I said based on a lack of foundation. That sentence doesn't make any sense, but they lack the foundation of perfect knowledge. Because if you want to create some structure or some situation, it has to be based on something. Like when we're building a house, we usually cannot just start with the walls. There has to be a foundation that it rests on, because otherwise it doesn't matter how elegant and practical and all of that our structure is. If it's not based on anything, it will fall apart very quickly. It will not last. And when we are looking for a solution, or when we are looking for how to structure our lives individually, in our families, in our organizations, in our countries, worldwide, we're constantly looking to better ourselves. We're constantly looking to come up with better solution, either because we're dissatisfied or because in the competition with other organizations, if we want to be part of it, we'll have to be able to come up with something at least as good. And now, if we look nationally or even worldwide, we are facing such difficulties when we look to the environment, that there are so many aspects of an environment that have been damaged because of the activities of human beings on different levels, because we thought we did something really good, and then it turned out we were not aware of the consequences. And if we don't know the laws governing this world, then we cannot plan ahead for the consequences. So that is very important. And the most basic fundamental truth about us is that we are eternal spirit soul, Satchit Ananda, part and parcel of the Supreme Personality, eternally connected to Him. We have, it's our, I would say, birthright, but that right comes long before our birth. We have a home in the spiritual world. We have a relationship to God. And if we don't know that, if that is not part of our understanding when we plan our lives, then we can't. Just like, I don't know, it's quite some time ago, they found this fantastic chemical that they could spray on their crops, and then everything else would just disappear. Then there wouldn't be any bugs, there wouldn't be any weeds, just your own crop would just grow. Then it turned out that it poisoned everything. I think it's called DDT, I could be wrong. It turns out that this poison never goes away. It enters the weeds, it enters the bugs, the other animals eat it, and those a little higher up, like the eagles and such birds of prey, they would just be so poisoned that they couldn't have offspring anymore, they couldn't lay eggs anymore. We thought, here's a really good solution to our problem, and then instead of making it a little easier to grow food, it poisoned the whole environment. And these things constantly happen, and we constantly think, oh, now we have something really good, science has blessed us with something really, really good. And then it turns out that it has so many side effects. There's so much plastic in the ocean nowadays. I see these little clips of the animals in the sea being all entangled, and it's just terrible, and it's just really difficult to solve it. And that's just, how to say, a tiny little example of how things can go wrong. The big problem is that we're stuck in this material world because we don't know that we are spiritual in nature, and we don't know what spiritual means, and we don't know how to reconnect to our spiritual existence. And that's what Bhagavad-gita wants to tell us. That's the perfect knowledge. And it may look good and it may look bad. And it's better when it looks good, because then it's easier to access it. But sometimes for Arjuna here, it didn't look so good. But still, that connection, that ability to give Krishna consciousness, to give God consciousness, to make it available in society, was actually the most important thing. And in our lives, sometimes our perspective gets a little mixed up, because we're in the middle of it. Just when we're reading Bhagavad-gita, we know what happened. We know that Krishna gave Arjuna this knowledge, and that knowledge was then available, and everything worked out. Of course, not for everyone. There was a battle, and a lot of people died. But for the kingdom and for God consciousness, things worked out. They are in the middle of the situation, and when you're in the middle of the situation, you don't have that longer perspective. So Krishna wants to give us that longer perspective. You are eternal. You are an eternal living entity. What is the priority from that perspective? Not from the perspective of, having to pull out a few more of the weeds, or having a little more money to buy some clothes. Or the big perspective is, we're stuck in this material world and we don't know it, and we don't know how to get out of it, and we don't even know why we should get out of it. So we need that knowledge, and then we need to put that knowledge into practice. And that is what Krishna is actually offering us here. I will read another verse, text 39. Shraddha vallabhate jnanang tatpara sangyatendriyaha jnanang labdhava parang shantim achirenadhigachati. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Translation. Such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. So we hear this. One should do this. One should control the senses. One should chant Hare Krishna, and one should understand that Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection. So, and sometimes our reaction to that is, you can't tell me what to do. And Krishna actually doesn't tell us what to do in that sense. When we come to the end of it, he tells Arjuna, now I have given you all this knowledge. Now you think about it. Then you decide yourself what makes most sense to do for you. So we have so much free choice. But now we're in the 4th chapter. We have gone through the 2nd chapter where we have established the fact we are that eternal spirit soul. Our perfect vision is clouded. Our perfect spiritual connection is covered. We don't really know where we are. And if we have come to that point of a little shraddha, a little faith, maybe not full faith, but a little faith. I am of that spiritual nature. I would really like to realize what that means. I read about it. It seems very, it seems like a complete understanding of the world and my place in it. But I can't see it. I can't access it as such. What do I do now? And Krishna answers that and say, now you have to do this, now you have to do that. It doesn't mean Krishna comes in and says, I'm God, you just have to do what I tell you. Krishna actually usually doesn't do that. This is this is Krishna's special kindness when he gives us that connection, because generally he says, okay, you're in this world, I'm in your heart, I will watch you, I will assist you, I will connect you to your desires and your karma. But when we start to look for him, when we start to look for these answers, then Krishna comes out and he gives us those answers. And then we can see, oh, that's how I do it. That's how I connect. It's just like if you're hungry and tired, and then your mother will say, you have to eat and you have to sleep. And actually, maybe you don't have to. Maybe you could stay up all night and not eat the whole week. But you would be miserable. You would be so tired, and you would be so... your health would suffer. So that's what Krishna means here. You don't have to do really anything. But when we've come to that point, when we want to practice, when we want to access our deep spiritual roots, then these are the steps we need to take in order to very efficiently connect to our spiritual nature. And then, having achieved this, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace, because the soul is eternal. The soul, when we're not peaceful, it means that we are worried, we are anxious, we are disturbed, because we're in this world and we don't have the full perspective. It's like if you get lost in the forest, all you see are lots of trees and maybe some sky up ahead, but you can't see your way out of it because you're in the middle of it. And then sometimes, if a group does that, somebody climbs on top of the tree or on top of a hill for a little better perspective, and then you can see, oh, that's where we came from. That's the road is there, the river is there, the lake is there. We can go in that direction. And then you can go down again and plot your way. But you have that faith that somebody had a better perspective and they could guide you. So Krishna, he has the supreme perspective. So he's not just saying, okay, control your senses, control your mind, do what I tell you. It's just that in order to hear the voice of that spiritual living entities, we have to lower the volume of everything else. And in a practical way, there are some yogis, they go and sit in a cave and they breathe once a week and they maybe eat a dry leaf once in a while. Very difficult. and no guarantee of success. But what Krishna is recommending here is bhakti yoga, which can be performed in our present situation with a little fine-tuning in our activities, and with adding the most important spiritual things and removing the most disturbing material things. So it's not a big ask, but it's a very practical instruction for those of us serious about taking the opportunity of this human body to actually gain that spiritual realization. Yes. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.